All right, everybody. It's Jonathan, Rachel, and Logan here.
Hi, everybody.
I am everybody.
So we just saw Thunderbolts, or spoiler alert, the new Avengers.
Because Marvel already spoiled it.
Yes, Marvel already spoiled it on their social media. And I think the red carpet premiere, they already brought that out, that the title is actually the new Avengers. We were psyched out the whole time.
He's actually the Fantastic.
Oh, it's actually Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
No, it's Thunderbolts. Asterisk.
Right. Well, we found out what the asterisk means. It means that was the temporary name, and then the real name.
But that's because they couldn't share it with a kid's sports team. So
That's true. A kid's sports team didn't want to be associated with. So quick thoughts here. We're going to talk about briefly how I felt about the movie, and of course that after credits scene. Spoilers on the table. So if you haven't seen Thunderbolts, go see it. Recommend it.
and then come back to it.
And then come back to us. All right. So that being said, spoiler warning over. All right. So Logan, what did you think?
Awesome test.
Awesome test. Yeah. Any details, any particulars that you
Wanna
enjoyed?
elaborate?
Elaborate maybe a little
I
bit.
thought it was pretty neat.
Pretty neat. Okay. All right. That's a little bit more.
It was the power of friendship ending, but not in the corny bad way. Like it worked.
Yeah.
Because the Sentry is supposed to be like a metaphor for mental illness. I know it's really a metaphor because it's literally straight up what he is.
So it's a
That kind of-
PSA.
Yeah, that's the entire point of his character. So I think that kind of ending worked there because it wasn't just, oh, we talked down the villain by being friends. I thought having it be a bit more of a visual metaphor than like pulling him back. But I think it made it work pretty well. There were a lot of jokes before the movie said, are they going to beat him with the power of friendship? Because there's no way that they're going to. I think it definitely worked out really well. I liked a lot of the character dynamics. Although one gripe that I did have was that Ghost and John Walker both felt like they got completely shafted. I forgot they were in it. Like Ghost, I almost completely forgot about a couple of scenes in the movie. Oh yeah, she's her too. And John Walker, a little bit better, but still, he didn't do much of relevance except get his shield turned into a taco. The movie was a good time, but it also took itself seriously when it needed to and told a legitimate story with good character interactions, but it also knew how to take itself away more lightly and be like more of a comedy at times. And we kept it quite balanced and entertaining.
That's a pretty good synopsis, I think. Rachel, anything to
Yeah,
add?
I actually was thinking pretty much some similar thoughts as far as some of the characters. I definitely saw that they were trying to get it to be the pull from Ilana with Bob. That part was definitely where they were primarily focusing. But yeah, I was like, oh yeah, Ghost is still here. Oh, okay. What's John gonna do? No, except gripe and lie about his family and stuff like that. The rest of them didn't have as much impact, I guess I would say, on the film as much as Elena and her dad and Bob, obviously. It was awesome. I really liked what they put into it. They brought out more the dynamics of some of the characters and about how it does impact others.
I concur. It's funny. I didn't think about the whole Ghost and Walker aspect of things. There really is a movie about the Sentry and Elena, the two of them, and then by extension, her father. It really is their movie. And you could, I think the other characters, you couldn't do a movie with just that. That wouldn't make sense. You had to have a team, air quotes, you had to have a team. But yeah, you're right. It did seem at times those other characters did fall by the wayside. So if there was any kind of slightly negative about this film is we didn't see as much development in those characters, especially Ghost, or especially Taskmaster, actually. It's so funny. We have all this promotional work done, and you have Taskmasters all on there with the poster with all of them, and literally gets killed off in the first 5 minutes.
I knew they were going to kill off Taskmaster. Just there were like one scene in all the trailers combined. There's one scene where Taskmaster shows up.
Yeah.
It's like pretty obvious. He wasn't in very much in the movie.
Yeah.
That is funny though, considering the Black Widow movie, like all that stuff and touching all this jazz so that she doesn't have to fight anymore, and she turns around and still doing shadow ops.
But yeah, no, I think definitely the Sentry's a very interesting character. besides the fact that I know there's an allegory there for mental illness and mental health and everything else, and that's fine. But I also think that he's an interesting character in the sense that he literally is the poster boy for Marvel characters. Because one of the things about Marvel versus DC is that DC characters tend to be more like those aloof gods, basically, and almost like you could say perfect in some ways. And then the Marvel characters, with some exceptions, the DC characters have over the years adopted a lot of the Marvel stuff.
Yeah, if you go back and you look at classic Batman.
I'm going back to the original DC. If you go to original Marvel, original DC, the Marvel template for a character was you had these great abilities, but then there was some sort of handicap, right?
Yeah.
Like with Peter Parker, for instance, he had these amazing abilities, but he was a teenager in high school dealing with all that stuff that comes with it. Almost all of Marvel characters had some sort of flaw. What's crazy about the Sentry is he literally has the power of 1,000 burning suns. He might be more powerful than Superman. In fact, I would say he probably is, but with that amazing power comes a huge deficit, which is that he has a split personality, and his personality is really evil and is just as powerful in a different way and can literally just suck everybody up into his void.
Really good Marvel snap card.
He is a really good Marvel snap card. It's true. So that's one thing I really like. I felt like they got the Sentry very well. They did a really good job with him. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point they may use him again cleverly in the next upcoming Avengers films.
Yeah.
Because I could see some really interesting uses for that character, because obviously he's insanely powerful. So the question is, do we use his power knowing that if we unleash him, there's a chance that the void could come out, and that would obviously be bad for everybody. Yeah, so there's very interesting possibilities I see in the future for stories involving him. And we know that they will come back. It does say that at the end.
Well, it did.
And Bob.
One thing that was interesting is that it didn't have his agoraphobia in the film.
Okay.
Which wasn't a big thing in the comics. Like he had a photo leaving his house. It makes sense.
It wouldn't have worked in the movie, so they had to.
I like that about his character in the comics, because that's not really like Adonis that tends to see very much representation of the things. Yeah, I always liked Sentry as a character, especially in a little bit of being the Marvel and all that.
I thought the performances were all good, really good, great. I thought that, again, the Florence Pugh, right?
Yeah.
And then I forget the name of the actor that played the Sentry, but the two of them, especially the actor that played the Sentry, did a great job of playing two characters, basically, which can be difficult, especially when in the same movie. So he's on one side, he's playing this meek, humble guy, and then he's playing this really evil guy. That's true. There is Bob, Sentry, and Void. You're right. It actually is three characters.
They're not after Sentry for very long.
I thought that Julia Dreyfus did a great job in her character. I liked that in the end, they didn't really win. I thought that was really clever. She literally lured them into that trap, basically. And I thought that was so clever at the end when you think that she's done for, and then she's like a snake, right? She just slivers away, and then, oh, hey. But
he's like Elena said, but we own you now. Like,
yeah, there is this mutual, yeah, we need each other right now, but there's definitely some tension there.
I will say, visually though, I thought a lot of the special effects and stuff were great to use, a lot more grounded for the most part, but I thought the effects with the Void were great. Honestly, I think it might be the best Void design that we've gotten. Yeah, I think it just be like the silhouette with the pink hole eyes. Honestly, I haven't really been too much of a fan of the Void's design in the comics. It switches up a lot. It's like Rare Pearl and Blob do, but it doesn't really look like. I like this dark is like the silhouette of the scene, so it matches more the idea of it being like the head burst and the other part of it, as opposed to just being some weird thing that comes out of it, like the comic kind of represents it as.
Yeah, I did think that, I think the design of the Void was good. Those pinprick eyes are really creepy, man. Super creepy. That's like nightmare feel right there.
I like the therapy boxes.
Therapy boxes?
Yeah. When they went into the Void and they were left to strap in the therapy boxes and wiggle with the ends.
Oh, yeah. So that was, like I said, that was all very good. I think that everything they handled, like when they were inside the Void verse, I'm going to call it the Void verse. I've coined that phrase. You're welcome, Marvel. What's that?
I think it's just the Void that was hinted.
Yeah. How's that work, right? Because everyone that he did the thing.
It's almost like Thanos snapping the club. He's doing it similar. He's like putting them into the Void, and then undoing it, they just all come back.
No, I think it was, like I mentioned,
Yeah.
towards the beginning of the film, she has her own void. Like, they use the same word.
Right.
So I think that's what it was, is they were all, like, the void is just expressed by Bob's, because he's a bit more unstable, and he's got, now the powers that push the two farther apart. I think it was just, like, he just was bringing out everyone's little void they have inside of them to some extent.
Right.
The darker part of them, or, like, trauma and stuff.
Maybe he feeds off of that or something.
Yeah, something like.
But I guess the question would be, is it a physical place? Is it someplace they go? Obviously it's someplace they go, right? Because we see people disappear.
Yeah.
So that's obviously they're going somewhere.
It's probably some kind of, like, metaphysical sort of thing. It's, like,
Yeah.
kind of physical and also mental at the same time.
What was the term? Like a pocket dimension.
Yeah.
Franklin would do that too.
That's like a mental plane, so also the astral plane kind of thing.
Ooh, I just had a wild idea about Franklin Richards versus Sentry.
Franklin Richards wins by default.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because Sentry's, like, strong physically, but it's
Yeah.
a reality manipulation.
Yeah, that's true. Franklin's kind of being on that. But anyway, overall, yeah, the movie was really good. Definitely one of the best Marvel movies in the last few years. I felt like really tight, put together. And this one part of that whole shakeup? Did it start production during the whole shakeup?
I think they restarted production. So not really.
Yeah.
Technically not.
Because unlike the movie that came out before, which would be the Captain America, which did really feel disconjointed. It felt like they took parts of an original film and slapped other pieces in there last minute. That's how it felt to me. But this felt like a whole film. It felt like it had good direction.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like there was really much wasted time. And
Yeah.
as you guys mentioned, the only really negative is they could have spent a little bit more time on some of the other characters, like Ghost's character. Even Red Guardian, he didn't really get a whole lot of.
I think he benefited from just being Yelena being there.
Yeah, I guess they are connected that way.
I really like that one scene with the speech.
Oh, yeah. He has a great performance there. He finally gave a good speech. It was actually good. But yeah, lots of implications, of course. Let's wrap things up here. We're talking about that end credit scene. Not the one with the Wheaties box, although that was funny. There's me on the box. But of course, we see that at the end. Couple of interesting things, though. First off, there is obviously tension between Sam Wilson and the new Avengers, right? So he's trying to start his own Avengers team, right? And so Sam Wilson is trying to start his own Avengers, and so he's not too happy about the new Avengers because obviously he doesn't like competition. And obviously the team is made up of misfits and anti-heroes, right? So he probably doesn't like that either. But in any case, yeah, so we have that whole thing going on. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And then, of course, the real money shot, so to speak, was their AI discovers through satellite imagery that there is an interdimensional traveler coming in. Who could it be? None other than the Fantastic Four, or at least we see their spaceship. Now, we don't know if the Fantastic Four is actually on the ship. So I just thought of this. Just because we see the ship doesn't mean the Fantastic Four are on the ship. We don't know, obviously, how the Fantastic Four movie is going to end. There's been some theories bumping around that the end of the Fantastic Four actually is not going to be very happy because their universe is going to be destroyed by Galactus or something like it. And they're going to have to flee or they'll get thrown out of the universe somehow, their own universe, and thrown into the 616 universe.
Or only a really deep cut. I can't remember what they called it. Character appeared in one Squirrel comic that was like Omniversus or something.
Okay.
That was like Galactus but on universal scale or something like that. They should. I just think it's very funny. They showed up one time in a Squirrel Girl comic as the villain, and then never showed up again.
They knew what Squirrel Girl has. They go hard. But
she's been Doctor Doom like 3 times, at least once.
yeah, Squirrel Girl's no joke. But yeah, so that's exciting. Whatever happens with the Fantastic Four, it's great to see that connection. Finally having an actual like end credit scene, right, that has a connection to other movies. Imagine that.
Go figure. MCU.
MCU. Are we seeing a turning point? You guys think we're seeing a turning point here?
so.
Are we turning a corner?
We're parked.
We are parked right now, yes. So final thoughts, everybody. Marvel fans, go see this movie.
Yes, and it's
Absolutely.
a great sign for the future of the MCU going forward.
They're making progress again in these films. It makes me optimistic.
It feels far less disconjointed than it has been lately. It feels a lot more like they have an actual direction that they're going in again, which is good. It seems like Kevin Feige isn't spreads as thin lately.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great movie. If you're a fan of Marvel, if you've been burned by some of the other films lately, I think you'll feel that this one is a breath of fresh air. It's funny, it's sad, it's emotional, it's powerful. All the things, all the feels. You're gonna have a roller coaster of emotions.
No Guardians
Um,
3, but
Maybe not quite Guardians 3, but it still has a lot of heart in it. It's got some action. It's got some funny scenes. Some people say that there was maybe some too much funny, but I thought it was good. I thought it
Yeah,
was fine.
So I want to know what other people thought when they saw it. I want them to share their thoughts with us.
With that being said, I've been Jonathan,
I'm Rachel.
I'm occasionally Logan.
and you've been listening to Comic Talk Cafe.